Reikenors condemned. Prior to the Necroquake, Reikenor often haunted the mortal realms alone. Following, though, the rise of Lady Alinda as the Mortarch of Grief, the Wraith Lord Wizard has led Nighthaunt processions on her behalf when duty demands her attention elsewhere. As her proxy in such circumstances, the Grim Hailer's power is now greater than it ever has been before as he leads hordes of the undead spirits against the realms of the living. Alright, so today we're going to look at how we can start collecting a Nighthaunt army using the Reikenors Condemned sub-allegiance. So let's talk a little bit about that. Obviously, this is a sub-faction for Nighthaunt. Now, you can find the rules for this sub-faction in the Broken Realms Be'lakor book, which is part of the ongoing Broken Realms narrative series for Warhammer Age of Sigmar. This sub-allegiance favours hordes, in particular units of Chainrasp Horde and Glaive Wraith Stalkers, which is pretty cool. It gives us particular bonuses to these units within the army, keeping them alive with a bunch of different rules. For starters, let's look at their allegiance abilities that we're going to get on top of Nighthaunt. So for those who don't know, Nighthaunt, we get the lottery charge roll where we can potentially, if we roll high enough, get some activations in the charge phase. And we'll also make everything -1 bravery around us as well because we're spooky ghost boys and girls. So you can re-roll failed hit rolls for attacks made by friendly Reikenors Condemned Chainrasp or Glaive Wraith Stalkers units whilst they're wholly within 15 inch of friendly Reikenors Condemned Spirit Torments and Chainghast. Now, this is interesting because it changes how that sort of works. A lot of their abilities for those models are 12 inch rather than 15, which we're now getting. And also, the Chainghast one and the Spirit Torment one, they sort of get a bunch of abilities when they're near each other that sort of spread off. This just simplifies it and makes it really easy to get some good buffs on those units. In addition, when we're using the Spectral Lure spell from a Guardian of Souls on them, we return D6 models in addition to any models returned by the effects of the Spectral Lure spell. So this is pretty cool. So this means we get D6 plus D6, 2D6 effectively. Really, really cool. I really like this. We got a thing where if Reikenor the Grim Hailer is part of the army, he has to be the general. It's pretty common for these sub-factions that are based around named characters to have such a rule. We then got the command ability that we get to use for this, which is you can pick one friendly Chainrasp or Glaive Wraith Stalker unit that's the Reikenors Condemned, that's wholly within 12 inch of a friendly hero, and or 18 inch of a friendly Reikenors Condemned general. You add 6 to that unit's move, which is particularly good for Glaive Wraith Stalkers who have retreat and charge. This can be really great for like jumping over enemy lines. I know a lot of people aren't particularly fond of Glaive Wraith Stalkers, but in this, I think they actually have a place. With this extra movement on them, they can be really quite cool unit to use on the tabletop. We then have an Artifact Corpse Candle, which works pretty much like Reikenors. It's a little way to sort of get some wound rolls, some extra mortal wounds and stuff there. So it's once per battle in your hero phase or the combat phase, the bearer can snuff out a Corpse Candle. If they do so in your hero phase, you pick one bearer or enemy model unit within 12 inch of them. The model picked suffers a mortal wound. In addition, the model that suffers a mortal wound by an enemy model, add 1 to the bearer's next casting roll, and if the mortal wound was suffered by the bearer, add 3 to the next casting roll. So you can either do some mortal wounds to your enemy or do one to yourself and get some really good bonuses on your casting. It's a really cool neat little trick to have for an artifact here. But let's get looking at how we can start collecting this particular army. So where can we look to start collecting a Reikenors Condemned force? Well, I think with all the rules we're getting for this force, it makes it pretty easy to pick where our starting block should be. A Guardian of Souls is a fantastic starting point for this army, as is a unit of Chainrasp Horse and some Glaive Wraith Stalkers. You could choose to go either way on this, taking all Glaive Wraith Stalkers or all Chainrasp, but I think one of each will allow you to play around and find out the differences between the two units when you're first learning the army. So the Guardian of Souls is a wizard, that's his main job, and he gets to bring models back with his Spectral Lure spell, which is getting extra models back with, thanks to some of the allegiance abilities we're getting from Reikenors Condemned. Now this mostly benefits our Chainrasp Horde, who are single wound, pretty basic sort of ghosts. These are our standard line, cheap infantry unit. Units of these, you probably want blocks of 20 at least. There can be some expense when getting these, but if you could pick up Soul Wards, you can actually pick up the majority of what I've mentioned here quite cheap as well, and generally cheaper than what you would buying all these boxes separately. Plus you get some other cool pieces in there as well, and a Stormcast army to give to a friend. You can also pick up a lot of the models in this set via the Mortal Realms magazine, which is available in different countries around the world. I know the UK and Australia both have access to it. There are some really cheap ways to pick up a load of Chain Rust Horde. You can get them for $20 Australian in there. I know the $6 issue is no longer back orderable, but still $20 rather than $80 what they would be in a box set from Games Workshop is pretty cool. Glaive Ray Stalkers and Guardian of Souls are both available to order in their own separate packs as well, which you can get there. The Guardian of Souls as well comes with the other Nighthaunt heroes. I believe you get the Spirit Torment and the Knight of Shrouds on Ethereal Steed along with him, which is awesome. So there's a few different ways you can pick up a bunch of these models, and you can do so at a pretty decent rate cheaply. You can find them on eBay as well, different parts of the set of Soul Wars if you're not wanting to pick up the whole box set. So what do we do with this? Let's look at how we can expand upon this and see what we can bring into the army to make it sort of tick that a little bit better. What do we get next? Alright, so looking at where to go next. Well, the first unit I'm going to suggest is a Dreadblade Harrow. The reason for this is the army is relatively slow. Outside of your units of Glaive Wraith Stalkers, you don't really have that much movement in the army. You can come up from the underworlds and all that sort of stuff, but I think a Dreadblade Harrow gives you something really unique in a Nighthaunt army, and I really can't go past suggesting one for any Nighthaunt army at all. So, Nighthaunt have a generic command ability that all their heroes have access to, where they can summon a unit to their side. Now, the Dreadblade Harrow combines this with the fact that they can move freely throughout the game in different ways. So, the Dreadblade Harrow has its Phantasmal Discorporation rule, where if this model is more than 3 inches from enemy models at the start of your movement phase, instead of making a normal move, you can remove it from the battlefield and set it up anywhere on the battlefield. You can then use the command ability from Nighthaunt to summon units nearby to it, which is pretty darn cool. Because you use it in your movement phase for the command ability. So it gives you a lot of freedom to get those units around. This can really help get your Chain Rust Horde sort of jumping around on objectives where you need them to hold and stuff, or potentially getting some charges in with your Glaive Wraith Stalkers where their movement might not be enough. This can really be a great unit to use throughout your army. Next up, no surprise, Spirit Torment and Chainghast, both of them, because they're the centerpieces that are going to be buffing a lot of our units. Like the Guardian of Souls, how we get buffs for him, we're getting buffs for Spirit Torment and Chainghast being in our army. So it makes sense you're going to want a unit or two of each of these to sort of get the buffs around the rest of your pieces within the force. I really do think these are really important, as it's going to give those rerolls to hit, and it's also just going to make them that little bit better in every way. So these are really good. Word of note that the reason that the Chainghasts are really cool in this is that they're a unit of models, so they can spread out and they give a much larger aura, while the Spirit Torment has the access of being a hero in addition, so he can use command abilities and stuff on them. Last piece, Reikenor the Grim Hailer. I mean, this is his sub-allegiance. You might not be able to fit him in your starting allegiance, but it should definitely be something you look to pick up eventually. I mean, how good it would be to have Reikenor leading his actual host. This is what you want in the end of it. So, couldn't not suggest the big man himself. But now we're going to look at a little sample army list to put all of this into practice. Alright, so here we have a little sample army list using the Reikenor Kadem sub-allegiance for Nighthaunt. As mentioned, you can find this in Broken Realms Bellicor. So for our leaders, we've got a general who's going to be our Dreadblade Harrow with the command trait Ruler of the Spirit Host, which allows him to bring back some more models. So we're just compounding all those things we already do with other models and bringing back even more of them. This is awesome. So then we've got our Guardian of Souls. He's going to have the artifact Corpse Candles, and the reason he's got the artifact is because he's the only one who can benefit from the spellcasting. Sometimes we're really going to need spells to go off, whether that be our returning model spell or using the spell we've chosen here, Shade Mist, which puts some negative to wounds on, which is really great at keeping your models alive. It's awesome, so we can use that artifact the best on the Guardian of Souls. We've then got a Spirit of Torment to round out our heroes. I think you could definitely do this list using all Chainghasts, which are definitely cheaper, but I think a Spirit Torment here just gives you that additional bubble of command ability and death saves as well, which you're probably going to need. This means that the Guardian of Souls and the Spirit of Torment can go near our 2 units of Chain Rust Horde, who are probably going to be the ones holding objectives there. The Dreadblade Harrow on the other side can be the hero that accompanies the Glaive Wraith Stalkers, along with maybe a unit of Chainghast or something like that to give them the rerolls. We've then got, as mentioned, a unit of 12 Glaive Wraith Stalkers, 2 units of 20 Chain Rust. This is going to form the main bulk of our force. And then we've got 2 units of 2 Chainghasts. Now, you could do 1 unit of 4 as this will spread it out, but I think 2 units of 2 is also an option. You've definitely got play in both variations. The 2 units of 2 means you can spread out your forces a bit more if that's what's required, but a unit of 4 also has much more staying power, as you can start to sort of bring it back and heal it up if it starts taking a little bit of damage. So you've got the options there for doing a bunch of different things. I think this is a pretty cool little army list. I'd love to know what everyone else thinks of this particular army. Reikenor's Condemned, are you interested in it at all? What do you think of it? Leave some comments down below and let us know. Well, thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and also drop a comment letting us know what you thought of everything in the video. If you'd like to come chat more with me and other members of our fine community, you can do so by following the link to our Discord server in the description of the video. And thank you to everyone who supports the channel via Patreon. Thank you to James, AJC, JC, Christian Weir, Soren, Kenny Lyle, Outer and Shot First, Cow Spawn, James Crowder, Andrew Bowen, Nathan Fee, and Tim Newman. Thank you all for supporting the channel. If you'd like to help support the channel like they do, you can do so by following the links in the description of the video again to our Patreon and YouTube members. We will get a shout out for everyone who supports us. Lastly, go check out our featured channel section though. There's a ton of other fantastic Warhammer Age of Sigmar content creators in there, ranging from everything from battle reports, tactical videos, painting videos, lore videos, and more besides. That's it for today though, folks. Stay safe, stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the Grey. Ciao for now.